No. The problem is that you're not listening to me. No, it's nothing against the things that you prioritize. No, I am just saying that something that's worth $30 to me might not be worth $30 to you, and vice versa. Hey, don't use that language on my show. Welcome to Teacup For One. My name is Matt, and I have 2 degrees. And today we are doing another teacup review of a brand new cinematic / direct to streaming release, one of my most anticipated films of 2020, Disney's live action remake of Mulan. This is actually going to be a 2-part video because this, what you're watching right here, right now, this is going to be my spoiler-free Mulan review. So, if you're one of those folks that's waiting for Mulan to drop for, air quotes, free in December, but you're still itching to get a pretentious yet accessible review of the movie, I'm your Matt. And now, for the 3 people watching who don't know what I mean when I say air quotes for free, Mulan is currently on Disney+, but it's not included in the regular subscription. It was released as a Premier Access title. So what that really means is you can pay an additional $30 as a one-time fee, or $35 if you're Canadian, and access Mulan right here, right now, for as many views as you want until the title releases to regular Disney+ in December. Now, the whole Premier Access thing is kind of a semi-controversial conversation topic right now, because a lot of people who are subscribed to Disney Plus are wondering, is it actually worth it to pay $30 just to watch one movie when I'm already paying a monthly fee to subscribe to Disney Plus? And there's really no right or wrong answer here. You're not right or wrong if you pay the $30 now. You're not right or wrong if you wait until December to watch it for, air quotes, free. You're really only wrong if you stream it illegally. But for everyone who has a moral compass, the big question is, do I watch or do I wait? And that's what I'm here to talk to you about today. Not to give you a definite answer because I can't sort out your financial priorities for you, but just to give you a spoiler-free sense of what the new Mulan movie is like, so you can decide for yourself if you want to watch it right away or if you want to wait. For myself, it was 100% worth getting Premier Access on Disney+. Honestly, for me, I would give this movie probably an 8 out of 10. It has a lot of the qualities that I really want from a film, just in general. And there's honestly only one thing about this movie that is keeping it from being a perfect film in my eyes. But we'll get to that in a second. First, let's focus on what this movie does right. And it does a lot right. First, there is definitely a case to be made for live-action Mulan being the strongest live-action remake that Disney has put out to date. And yes, I am saying that, fully acknowledging that they cut out the songs and cut out Mushu. And I loved the songs and Mushu. They made the animated film for me. But getting rid of them is kind of tied to what makes this film so good, and what made it succeed where so many of the other live-action remakes have failed. It's not tied down to its animated counterpart. Because just think about it. With the exception of Kenneth Branagh's Cinderella and, for the most part, Jon Favreau's Jungle Book, all of the live-action remakes to date have been remakes of the animated movies, as opposed to retellings of the stories that those animated movies were originally based on. So it's kind of like photocopying a photocopy of 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 a photocopy. What happens when you photocopy a photocopy? You lose clarity, and you lose information, and you lose the heart and soul of what made that document so good to begin with. I'm really passionate about clerical work. But seriously though, just think of Will Smith as the genie. I thought he did a great performance, but it was at its best when he was just human Will Smith, as opposed to that CGI blue monstrosity. Because the CGI blue monstrosity was like the physical embodiment of an entire production team coming together, trying to artificially recreate the brilliance of Robin Williams' original organic performance. And it's not just Will Smith as the genie. That's the trap that all of these live-action remakes fall into when they are casting new actors to recreate roles that were originally tailor-made to one specific performer and their nuances and their performance style. And so honestly, that's why I'm glad we didn't have someone trying to recreate Mushu or recreate Eddie Murphy's performance in this film. But beyond that, this movie takes place in a much more grounded, realistic world than what we had in the animated feature film. There are elements of magic in live action Mulan, but they're more like elements of magical realism than a reality where a wise, cracking, breakfast cooking dragon would fit in. And that brings me to my main point. The reason live action Mulan is so good is because its director Niki Caro had such a clear, distinct vision, and the entire story was just unified by the core themes of the story of Mulan. It's a story about honor, about war, and what it means to be a woman in a world that's driven and controlled by men. The film's first act does an incredible job just establishing these themes of family and honor, and it does it so effectively that when Mulan does make her decision to go to war in place of her father, I know I said spoiler-free review, but I mean, come on, you should know that if you're watching this video. When she does make that decision, it has such a stronger emotional weight and therefore a better payoff because of how brilliantly those themes had been set up. And again, not to mansplain, but the movie does something so brilliant in taking the core story element of Mulan having to disguise herself as a man and just interprets that into an examination of the theme of women in male-dominated societies. And it embodies it so geniusly in the creation of its new character, Jian Lang. I'm not going to spoil any story elements that directly relate to her character, but I mean, just look at her costume design. I know it's not a competition with the animated film, but if it was, she would win the Best Villain Award over Shan Yu like that. And of course, the biggest payoff to producing a live-action Mulan movie in the first place, the reason you buy the ticket, the reason you go to a theater, the reason you want to see this on an actual big screen instead of just a TV in your living room. The war sequences. The battles in this movie are epic beyond belief. Now, bear in mind, I am saying that as someone who hasn't seen a ton of war movies in my life. It's not really my genre, but I can appreciate some great action sequences, especially when they are embedded in really cool historical settings. Like, this movie had such an element of engaging, captivating, like, costume drama swashbuckling, the likes of which I personally haven't seen since like Pirates of the Caribbean. And on top of that, the cinematography in this film is breathtaking. If you haven't figured it out from watching my channel by now, I really kind of low-key hate overdone CGI, and I've kind of gotten to a point when I watch live-action Disney remakes with the expectation that I'm just going to be watching a bunch of actors living in a cartoon world. But the landscapes, the environments, the sets, everything about this film looks so real and so stunning. It was shot on location in China and New Zealand, so you get those beautiful sweeping landscape shots, kind of like what you would get in a Lord of the Rings movie. And beyond that, the production design in the film is equally incredible. Just between the use of color in costumes and props, combined with the cinematography, combined with the fight choreography, combined with the battle sequences. If nothing else, this movie is worth watching at least once just for the visual experience. But with me rambling on about how great this movie is, you're probably sitting there wondering, Matt, what is that one infamous thing that kept this from being a perfect film in your so capable eyes? And my answer to you is Yifei Liu, also known as Mulan herself. Now, just to be clear, she is not bad by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, she did reportedly 90% of her stunts by herself, and that is incredible. And this is the thing, Mulan is one of those roles that requires so much of one performer that it makes it almost impossible to cast, because she needs to be fully capable in terms of martial arts training. She needs to be able to pass believably for a male, which is a lot more difficult to do in a live action setting than in an animated setting. And on top of that, she needs to be a decent actress. And now that's the trouble, is that she's just a decent actor. Like, there's this kind of quiet stoicism to her at all times, which in some parts of the movie works really, really well, especially when she's in disguise and when she's trying to keep a low profile and during all of the battle sequences. But at the same time, it kind of falls into the trap of her coming off as a little emotionless, and she doesn't have that spark and that heart that you immediately want from your main character in pretty much any film, so that you fall in love with them right off the bat, and then you're with them, invested in their journey for the whole of the movie. Just for some additional context, I remember when her casting was first announced, there were articles all over about how she was reportedly, statistically, critically, the worst actress in China at the time. I believe she had just come off of winning a Golden Broom Award, which, based on my labor-intensive Google searching, is kind of like China's answer to the American Razzie Awards, with the big difference being that they are not tongue-in-cheek. Like, the Razzie Awards are where Sandra Bullock can win an award for Worst Actress one night, but it's kind of all in joking good fun for a movie that wasn't produced that well, whereas the Golden Broom Awards, their whole purpose seems to be acknowledging industry professionals who are not doing their best work in the hopes that it'll motivate them to do a little bit better. With that in mind, did I watch Mulan thinking this is a movie being led by one of the worst actors in the world? No, not at all. But her work has been criticized in the past for having that kind of stone-faced, emotionless quality, and I definitely saw some elements of that in her performance, and again, that's a little bit where she lost me. But with that said, the rest of the cast in this film is incredible. For me, the standouts were Tai Ma as Mulan's father and Gong Li as Xian Lang, the new villain. Honestly, Gong Li kind of steals the entire film for me. She has this incredible ability as a performer to just express such a wide range of emotions with just a few looks, and she fully commands every scene that she is on screen for. Also, fun fact, she is widely considered to be one of China's best actresses. Oh, and while we're on the topic of actors in the movie, this is a mild spoiler, but there is a cameo from Ming-Na Wen, aka the original animated voice of Mulan, and it's perfect. So, all in all, live-action Mulan is an extremely well-made film. The key to enjoying it, especially if you are a Disney purist, is watching it without any expectations for it to be a carbon copy of the original animated classic. And yes, maybe I found its lead actor a little bit stone-faced and a little bit emotionless, but that doesn't distract from all the things about this film and all the things about her performance that do work. And honestly, that is a lot. But that's all I'm going to say on the film for now. If you want to hear me talk even more in depth about the movie, stay tuned for my upcoming spoiler-filled review. But until then, friends, that concludes yet another episode of Teacup For One. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear me do even more movie reviews, or talk about Disney, or talk about Shakespeare, or dress up droids in cute little costumes, please consider subscribing to the channel if you have not done so already. It's super easy. All you need to do is click on my face. Thanks for joining me again today, everyone. My name is Matt, and that's the Teacup For One. Okay, go away.